Good morning. I'm so pleased to be here with you. I love your space, the quilts, the ribbons, the color. So it's just wonderful to meet you here. I don't think I've ever been here. Well, I know I've never been here in this building before, but when I was president of the board at the Lafayette UU Church, I met several times with other presidents in the Indianapolis area. So I have been aware of your congregation and some of its history, and it's nice to finally meet some of you here today. A few months ago, I was in New York City for a long weekend of Broadway theater hopping, something I never thought I would do. But my sister, who lives out in California, and that's where I'm from, California originally, asked if I wanted to join her on this San Jose, California theater group trip. I guess they do it every spring. I would only need to pay for the show tickets and my train trip to New York City. I could room with her. So my sister talked me and our older sister into coming, and it was a fun and educational few days. Wow, what a big town of diverse human beings there are on Manhattan Island. Interesting things going on all the time, and so many people. And they say it wasn't even as busy as it had been before the pandemic. So for some time now, I have been attempting to connect better with anyone I run into wherever I go. So in New York, I was engaging people anytime I could out on the street, or like when we were in the elevator together, going up to the 21st floor or coming back down. My older sister was getting a little bit annoyed with me, I think. But we learned that many of the people we shared the hotel with were from other countries, and we had some great conversations with them. I explained to Sister MJ that I had made a commitment after the 2020 election to make an effort to help bring people back together after all the divisive talk and actions we had just experienced. I have to give myself a push to engage with people this way, especially if they are strangers to me, but it's probably not as hard for me since I am pretty much an extrovert. But so far, it has turned out pretty well. I find that gloomy faces light up when you greet them in a friendly way, just like in the book that you read. Perfect book. To my surprise, a week or so after getting home, I received an email from my older sister with a couple books and article attachments about talking to strangers. These writers were telling their readers that talking to strangers is a good thing. How about that? I'm not the only goofball with this idea. They argue that it is good for your physical and mental health, good for your community, good for humanity. Jane E. Brody is a personal health advocate who, after joining the New York Times in 1965, was its personal health columnist from 76 to 2022. In an article titled "The Benefits of Talking to Strangers," she wrote, "I'm a lifelong extrovert who readily establishes and relishes casual contacts with people I encounter during daily life. While walking my dog, shopping for groceries, working out at the Y, even sweeping my sidewalk. These ephemeral connections add variety to my life, are a source of useful information, and often provide needed emotional and physical support. Equally important, they nearly always leave me with a smile on my face, although now hidden under a mask, which has been one of the difficulties for us smilers of wearing masks. In recent months, under stay-at-home orders because of the coronavirus pandemic, many people lost such daily encounters. And this is still Jane speaking. I have done my best to maintain as many of them as possible while striving to remain safe. With in-person time with family and close friends now limited by a mutual desire to avoid exposure to COVID-19, the brief socially distant contacts with people in my neighborhood, both those I've known casually for years and others I just met, have been crucial to my emotional and practical well-being and maybe even my health. The benefits I associate with my casual connections were reinforced recently by a fortuitous find. During a COVID-inspired cleanup, I stumbled upon a book in my library called Consequential Strangers, The Power of People Who Don't Seem to Matter, but really do. Published 11 years ago, this enlightening tome was written by Melinda Blau, a science writer, and Karen L. Fingerman, currently a professor of psychology at the University of Texas, Austin, who studies the nature and effects of so-called weak ties that people have with others in their lives. The barista who fetches your coffee, the person who cuts your hair, the proprietor of the local market, the folks they see often at the gym or train station. In an interview, Dr. Fingerman noted that casual connections with people encountered in the course of daily life can give people a feeling that they belong to a community, which she described as a basic human need. As she and Ms. Blau wrote in their book, consequential strangers are as vital to our well-being, growth, and day-to-day existence as family and close friends. Consequential strangers anchor us in the world and give us a sense of being plugged into something larger. They also enhance and enrich our lives and offer us opportunities for novel experiences and information that is beyond the purview of our inner circles. They are vital social connections, people who help you get through the day and make life more interesting. And again, she's saying, my tendency to chat up total strangers I meet in the course of just living has resulted in a slew of acquaintances who have filled my days with pleasantries, advice, information, needed assistance, and most important of all during this time of enforced semi-isolation, a valuable sense of connections to people who share my environment. COVID-19 lockdowns have reminded so many of us of how important our relationships are to our quality of life. Not only relationships with the friends and family members we love and know well, and who know us well, but also with more casual ones that help us maintain a positive outlook during dark and distressing times. Dr. Fingerman's research has also shown that people who are more socially integrated are also more active physically. Being sedentary kills you, she said. You have to get up and move to be with the people you run into when exercising. Consequential strangers also help your brain, she said, because conversations are more stimulating than with people you know well. A fellow researcher in the field, Catherine L. Fiore, chairwoman of undergraduate psychology at Adelphi University, who studies social networks of older adults, has found that activities that foster weaker ties than are formed with family and close friends foster greater life satisfaction and better emotional and physical health. The greater the number of weaker ties, the stronger the association with positive feelings and fewer depressed feelings, Dr. Fiore said in an interview. It's clearly not the case that close ties are all that older adults need. And not just older adults, all adults, Dr. Fingerman said. Research has shown that in general, people do better when they have a more diverse group of people in their lives. But as Dr. Fiore observed, unfortunately, COVID has severely curtailed our ability to maintain weaker ties. It can take a lot more effort to do this online. In the book, The Power of Strangers, which my sister found and recommended to me after we'd been in New York, author Joe Cohane sets out on a journey to discover what happens when we bridge the distance between us and people we don't know. He learns that while we're wired to sometimes fear, distrust, and even hate strangers, people and societies that have learned to connect with strangers benefit immensely. Digging into a growing body of cutting-edge research on the surprising social and psychological benefits that come from talking to strangers, Cohane finds that even passing interactions can enhance empathy, happiness, and cognitive development, ease loneliness and isolation, and root us in the world, deepening our sense of belonging. And all the while, Cohane gathers practical tips from experts on how to talk to strangers and tries them out himself in the wild to awkward, entertaining, and frequently poignant effect. As Unitarian Universalists, I think we can understand this thinking. We believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So it follows that each of those persons can add something positive to our lives. Rather than fearing all the strangers we encounter, we could welcome getting to know others and learning something from them. When we get to know these others, we care about what happens to them, and our circle of compassionate concern expands. We have more people to consider as we make choices about our actions that affect global temperatures, housing for the homeless, food distribution, and forest depletion. We are definitely all connected physically on this planet. Fear of strangers in recent decades has caused us to draw in and avoid connecting personally sometimes. We say we don't have time to connect, but we seem to have plenty of time to spend hours on cell phones and iPads. We've all seen the results of shooters who seem to have no sense of connection to random people in their community and are willing to kill classrooms of children, groups of theater goers, shoppers, Bible study participants. How would it have changed these incidents if the shooter had been greeted by everyone they came into contact with throughout their life? I want to suggest that we all start connecting more with strangers. Of course, be careful and stay safe, but take the many opportunities to just greet or speak to others at the grocery store, in the elevator, walking along the sidewalk. Recognize that we can all have a part in bringing this divided country back together, this divided world back together. This attempt is definitely needed. So if we don't do it now, tell me when. Thank you.